When are we going to stop sleeping on Lamont Paris and the South Carolina Gamecocks? Beating Kentucky last week wasn't enough. Following that win up with a win over Missouri on Saturday wasn't enough. South Carolina, we talked about it on Monday, rank them. Still absent from the AP Top 25. And last night looked like a tall task, taking on the 5th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville at Thompson-Boling Arena. Admittedly, I was skeptical of South Carolina's chances in this game. A Tennessee team that not only this season had been dominant on their home floor, but had been dominant in the series against South Carolina. Before last night, last 5 matchups in the series, Tennessee had won those games by an average of over 20 points per game. But it was very evident early on last night that that was not going to be the case. Things were going to be different. And what a win, a statement win. As big as the Kentucky victory was for South Carolina. Again, in case you were living under a rock and you missed it, 63-59. The Gamecocks go into Knoxville and upset the 5th-ranked Volunteers. But as big a win as the win over Kentucky was, and it was a huge game. It was a huge win, right? We've seen, dare I say, not so great South Carolina teams take down Kentucky at Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina. For whatever reason, John Calipari's Kentucky Wildcats seem to struggle playing in that venue. And I'm taking nothing away from the win, obviously, but we had seen South Carolina pull that upset before. Guys, it's one thing to catch lightning in a bottle and have a great home crowd and, for a team that goes on the road to have an off night. But for South Carolina to take that show on the road, go into Knoxville, and beat a Tennessee team that for a while, guys, we thought not many chinks in the armor. Dalton Knecht, we've been talking about him, the best player in college basketball. And while he had a great night, more on that in a second, South Carolina, it's about damn time. Nationally, this team gained respect. Maybe they're not flashy. Maybe they're not sexy. Obviously, we're given no credit in the preseason, picked to finish dead last in the SEC. And I think what you're seeing, guys, with South Carolina, this is what happens. People say that the preseason polls aren't important and preseason hype isn't important. And you'll hear a lot of fans of different fan bases say, I'd rather us not be ranked. I'd rather us be slept on. But this goes to show why that stuff is important. Because when you have no preseason ranking, when you have no preseason hype, when you have no preseason respect, it is very, very hard to gain that. You've got to do 5x or 10x what another team might have to do to get even the slightest bit of respect. But I was asked a couple days ago, Chris, what does South Carolina have to do to get that respect? My answer was simple. Win. Just keep winning. And again, as big as that Kentucky win was, South Carolina, by the way, becoming midweek killers. Tuesday nights. You do not want to see the Gamecocks on a Tuesday night. Again, 63-59, the final. This South Carolina team, so good defensively, man. So good defensively. I mean, listen, you knew Dalton Knecht was going to get his. And that kid, hey, tip the cap to Dalton Knecht. That kid did everything in his power to lead Tennessee to a victory. Did everything he could. And then some, right? And I think it goes to show what kind of player he is and what kind of teammate he is. The fact that after the game, right, Dalton Knecht is not the reason Tennessee lost this basketball game. But He's the one in the gym shooting free throws, getting in work after the game. I think that really shows you guys what kind of teammate he is, what kind of leader he is. Dalton Knecht with 31 points in this game. I saw some folks saying, well, he took 24 shots. He went 11 of 24. And when you're the best player on the team, you shoot the rock. Shoot or shoot. 31 points for Knecht. It was the rest of the team that fell flat for Tennessee. Vescovi with just 10 points. Adu with 6 points. Awaka with 6 points. Outside of that, guys, Ziegler with 2 points. Ziegler went 0 for 6 from the floor. 0 for 4 from 3, was just 2 of 4 on his free throws. 2 points for James, 2 points for Estrella, and that was it. That was all she wrote. Tennessee shot 36% from the field, 24% from three-point range. They were 12 of 20 from the free throw line. South Carolina, on the other hand, led by Talon Cooper with 18 points, which it's crazy, guys. It's and the thing that makes this South Carolina basketball team, guys, I think one of the things that's made them so special this year is it's not just one guy, right? The past couple of years, I thought you looked at South Carolina and you're like, there's some really good individual pieces, but if one guy doesn't click, if this one guy doesn't play well, the rest of it's going to fall apart. For a while, it was Meechie Johnson, right? Then it kind of became B.J. Mack. Now, lately, it's become Talon Cooper. 18 points for him. His 2 career highs in points have come against Kentucky and Tennessee, or at least season high. I don't want to misspeak there. Season high in points. Kentucky and Tennessee, not too bad. He went 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 5 from three-point range, guys, including that huge make down the stretch. I mean, a massive make down the stretch there. B.J. Mack with 16 points. He was a force down low, 7 of 8 on free throws, which, by the way, that was a big difference maker in this game, too. We've seen South Carolina lose games because of free throws. 15 of 18 from the charity stripe, 83%. Miles Studi coming back from injury, right? He was huge. 13 points in the ball game. So those are the leading scores. 34% shooting from the field, 35% shooting for three-point range. And this South Carolina team, I think Tennessee's going to be fine, by the way, guys. I do. Tennessee, you make a deep run in March. Also, by the way, the Vols come to Columbia on March 6th. You know they're going to have revenge on the mind. Tennessee's still very, very capable of making a deep run in March. They are. They got to get more from the rest of the guys surrounding Dalton Knecht, right? They're going to be fine, though, right? They're going to be fine. The bigger takeaway in this is just we continue night after night to be amazed at what South Carolina is this year. And I don't care if you were the most garnet glasses biased Gamecock in existence. There is nobody, even if you had sky-high hopes, there is nobody that saw this coming from South Carolina. Is Lamont Paris a lock for the SEC Coach of the Year? Maybe even the National Coach of the Year? We're going to do a segment on that either tomorrow or Friday, but Lamont Paris, Chris Beard, the job those two have done this year has been wildly impressive for different reasons at each respective school. But what Lamont Paris has done, South Carolina, I would assume they're going to be ranked in next week's AP Top 25, right? Well, I mean, that you got to think. You need to take care of business if you're South Carolina on Saturday. I believe at Georgia is who they've got. But, I mean, at some point, something's got to give. Again, guys, I look at Tennessee, back to the Tennessee side of things. You just got to get some guys to step up out of Dalton Knecht, man, outside of Dalton Knecht. Ziegler can't go 0 for 6 from the field, man. You can't have only one other guy in double digits. You got to help this dude out. You got to find some offensive rhythm. And again, give South Carolina tons of credit for what they did defensively, but you got to find some more offensive rhythm, right? And poor Kentucky, who Tennessee plays, who Tennessee plays on Saturday. I got a feeling Tennessee, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to be antsy to get this nasty taste out of their mouth. But, I mean, guys, again, this South Carolina team, it's just, finally you saw John Rothstein and some others last night. And, I even was one that was very hesitant to put a lot of respect on South Carolina. Hey, the schedule was outside the top 100. You're thinking, okay, is it strength of schedule? But you beat Kentucky. And it's like, okay, great upset win. Home game, it's one of those nights in college basketball. You have the opportunity to follow it up, but you don't get a lot of credit for following it up because it's against Missouri, who's defeated in conference play. But beating Tennessee on the road, now that is one that sends shockwaves through college basketball. That is one, no matter how skeptical you are, you can't help but take notice. No matter how skeptical you may be. Again, I look at this South Carolina team, it's kind of like they actually remind me of those Frank Martin teams that played really elite defense, but they've got another gear offensively. I'm not saying they're elite offensively. Also, what you're seeing, guys, is, and I think too, what this South Carolina team is proof of, or it's a great case study, or what have you. There's value to scheduling tough when you're really good. Like, look at Tennessee, right? They played North Carolina. They played Kansas. They played Purdue. Those are matchups that helped them, right? No doubt. Those are matchups that helped them early on, I think, to get a real gauge of, okay, this is where we are. Rick Barnes is able to go back in the lab, make some adjustments, tinker some things. And then you saw the way they've been playing up until really last night. But I think a team like South Carolina that came in, a lot of new pieces, a lot of new guys from the portal. How are they going to mesh? Low preseason expectations, a lot to figure out. And there were some challenging games in there early in the season, right? You had Virginia Tech. You had Grand Canyon. You had East Carolina on the road, if you want to call that one a tough, a road test or what have you. But South Carolina is a great example of why scheduling soft early and allowing yourself to get into a rhythm, it's not always a bad idea. Because I think what you're seeing is this team was able to get their feet under them. They weren't so beat down by non-conference play. And they're playing with supreme confidence. And it's a chicken or the egg conversation. Do you need to win first to gain confidence, or do you need to have confidence to win? And normally it's a mixture of the two. But I think what you've seen with this South Carolina basketball team, and this is credit to Lamont Paris, his entire coaching staff, for being able to build off of this, is a bunch of new guys came in from different places who had success, who were veterans of the game of college basketball. Probably not going to be a whole lot that happens they haven't seen. Come from winning cultures, winning backgrounds. They all bring that in. They bring in that confidence, that level of belief. And they're pretty good players too. And early on, you start to win games, you build even more confidence. And so now it comes to a point last night in Knoxville, you look at a South Carolina team that you say, this team isn't intimidated at all. This team doesn't know they're 14.5 or 15-point underdogs. They don't play that way. They don't act that way. They don't carry themselves that way. They don't believe that. And while that doesn't always work, it's sports, things happen. That's what you're seeing from this team, a supreme level of confidence. Now, from the Tennessee side again, guys, it's sometimes you have these nights in college basketball. And I think anybody who's playing South Carolina right now is running into a bit of a buzzsaw, right? So I think Tennessee is going to be fine. You got one of the best players, arguably the best player in college basketball in Dalton Connect. I don't see many nights that Zakai Ziegler is going to go 0 for 6 from the field. I don't see many nights that Adu is only going to have 6 points. Like I think you've got too many good pieces. Rick Barnes is too good of a coach to not correct these issues, right? So when you talk about who are the teams at the top of the SEC, I think Tennessee's still in the conversation, just like I think Auburn's still in the conversation, even though they lost to Mississippi State. Just like we all say that North Carolina is one of the best teams in college basketball, despite the fact last night they lost to Georgia Tech. Sometimes you have these nights in college basketball. And so I don't worry about Tennessee. Upsets happen. It is what it is. Tennessee will be fine. I expect them to make a deep run still in March. But South Carolina is the story here. And it's about damn time. Whether you're local, you're at the conference level, or you're at the national level, it's about damn time we start putting more respect on South Carolina and recognizing them as not just a feel-good story, but as a real contender for the SEC title.